Hello, this is Giselle Gamby, business and life coach and proud host of the Intuitive Pull podcast. We're now pivoting to season 4 with an invitation to raise the stakes. I know I was made to remind people to raise the stakes, to seize, to claim, and execute the vision that you've intuitively seen, and to never accept the crumbs. What would it mean if you raised the stakes in your own life? What would you say yes to? And what would you say an undeniable no to? Be inspired, be agitated, be activated, and most of all, hold this truth, that when you raise the stakes, the quantum field will show you dreams you didn't even know you had. Hello, Intuitive Pull community. I hope you listened to the previous episode or watched it, because what I'm about to share now is the consequence of what happened after catching myself out in relation to how I set myself up when my ego hijacked my true nature. So just in summary, I talked about how my true nature of being diligent and devoted, when my ego attaches to it, how I then set myself up to having to work hard or to have things to constantly work on. Because if I do, the agenda that sits underneath that is that I'm just finally deserving of the things that I desire and that I'm called into. So being able to see how that true nature of being diligent and devoted, how it gets twisted by the ego, which then sets me up to having to work hard or have things to work on so that I'm finally deserving. That was just a game changer, absolute game changer. I shared some other examples of some other people. So if you haven't watched that episode or listened to that episode, definitely do so, because it will turn your own wheels and it may be the game changer that you didn't think you were looking for. It was perfect how that unfolded for me, because it occurred as a ripple from seeing a client's identity. She had defined herself to be a survivor, and she prided herself on being a survivor, yet that set herself up to have battles to win and to have challenges to fight against. Well, her process was really generous, because it then rippled onto me. And now it's been rippling onto my clients, and now I'm sharing it here on the podcast. Now, I just wanted to touch on that, because what occurred for me after finding myself out, catching myself out, was Thursday when I saw, wow, I set myself up to work hard when my ego attaches to that diligence and devotion. On Friday, I went to a place of actual love for all of me, for the times when my diligence and devotion is pure and comes from my true nature, and even the times when my ego has attached to making that diligence and devotion an identity or a personality. And even when it attached it to becoming a personality, and then I went and worked hard or had things to work on, even that has given me so much. And so I went to a place of really loving all of my parts. And the reason why I'm saying that here is because I want to pass that on to you. If you caught yourself out, don't do what I did initially, which was, I'm putting that down. That can go away. Friday was a much more beautiful experience to be able to embrace all the parts of me. And so I'm passing that on to you. Then Saturday happened. And I went to a yin yoga session, which I do on Saturday mornings at 9:30. And it was the most beautiful, beautiful yin yoga session. It was like as if the teacher created it just for me. It was very heart opening, very heart opening. And I have received a message in that yin yoga session. And the message was this. It was beautiful, simple, just a few words. And then she remembered the magic. And I really felt it. I've completed that yin yoga session and I happened to have my laptop in the car and I felt to write. And so I took myself to the beach, which is what I do often, to go and write. And I wrote this stream of consciousness piece that I want to share here with you. I also am sharing here with you because this is a note to self. If you have been listening to the previous episodes where I have been talking about a new program, a year-long program called Your Most Significant Life-Changing Year Again, which is a year-long practice of writing notes to self and allowing process to unfold such that it is your best year yet, such that your writing shows you all the places that you need to go to within yourself so that you can untangle and you can become free and you can see and you can receive. You can be shown dreams you never knew you had. Just like this program is a dream I never knew I had. Even this podcast was a dream I never knew I had. Being a podcaster was a dream I never knew I had. I want to illustrate the power of these notes to self by sharing the note to self that I wrote after I heard the words in the yin yoga session last Saturday, and then she remembered the magic. So this is what I wrote. Let me just pull it up. Notes to self 122. And then she remembered the magic. Allow these, by the way, to really be received in your heart as I read. She was diligent and devoted. She gave it her all. Personal responsibility she took. Presence was how she lived. She stood for authenticity for herself and others, and miracle after miracle for those she touched. Intuition was her trusted advisor, and she followed the pulls, bowing down to their intelligence, showing her dreams she never knew she had. Her mission was about showing the transformative and generous power of living from our sacred leadership. She walked with people and showed them a world of unconditional self-responsibility and love, presence, intuition, authenticity, trust, surrender, faith, and grace. Challenges around money, relationship, depression, cancer, missing mojo, chaos, crisis, death. She knew that nothing could not be transformed, not temporarily, but for life. Desires and longings for greater leadership, fulfillment and impact is what she held. And this was her greatest joy and her greatest gift, because she could, in inverted commas, see. She saw beyond the stories, beyond the suffering, beyond the inability to be free, because these eyes served her 22 years ago. At a time of great suffering, the end of an abusive marriage and the death of her baby, she freed herself because she could see. She saw the cause beyond the blame. She saw the purpose beyond the suffering, and she was free. It was then, when she connected with a greater purpose to her life, that her breakthroughs were not just for her, but for others. And she took the leap and left her career and began to walk this journey with others. But it didn't stop there, because this journey, whilst full of joy and learning, was not always easy. Coaching was easy, but how to run a business was a different story. She fumbled and failed. She tried this and she tried that. And she listened to the experts who told her that she wasn't enough, too different. Nobody would ever accept her. And so she turned herself inside out, put on a mask, spoke to a script, and her body suffered once more. Anxiety hit in response to her lack of self-value and love, in response to believing that she had to be like others in order to make this business successful. Until one day, when a panic attack arrived in the most inconvenient moment, whilst she was facilitating a workshop she was advised to prove herself so that they would finally buy. Her body, however, would no longer take the repeated hit of self-abandonment. And that is when she knew she could no longer play this game of inauthenticity, powerlessness, and only leading from the physical realm. She felt the feelings, the anger, the sadness, the hopelessness, even the darkness. She'd failed, and there was nothing else she could do, and nowhere else she could turn to, other than be with her emotions and demise. A few months later, as she went for a run, she heard the words stop and meditate. She listened and sat down by the ocean and closed her eyes. And then she saw once again. She saw that she'd been doing what everyone else like her was still doing, all believing that the answers lie outside of themselves, in others, and in the doing world. So much pretending, so much doing, all for nothing. She saw the cause, lack of self-value, distrust in self and powerlessness. And she saw the purpose, once again, that the road she travelled had to be this way. She had to forget herself. She had to abandon herself so that she could remember the magic once again. For the second time in her life, she was missioned up, and life became very wonderful. She was of service to many. Lives were transformed, ripples and ripples of miracles unfolded, deeply meaningful relationships were formed, as well as the most perfect community that she held as a divine ecosystem. 11 years on, and she finds herself today in this present moment. She is incredibly grateful for the past 11 years and in deep reverence for all that has been created. And she can feel fear bobbing in and out, again, touching the sides, teasing her. In faith, she knows this is part of the plan. She's on the precipice of another giant evolution. Her capacity to love has grown significantly, and she's now become available to share that with a sense of breadth that she's not experienced until now. Another leap is here, but this time it does not need to come with suffering. It does not need to come with suffering because she caught herself out. She saw how her diligence and devotion, which has given her so much, when hijacked by the ego, has her believing that she needs to work hard to be deserving of what she desires. And this is not what she's choosing, because she's been remembering the magic. She can feel it in her belly. She can feel it in her heart. And she knows that all she needs to do is to take the leap. Take the leap. One giant magic leap with others who are ready to take their own giant magic leaps. Who has had their noses in all the responsibilities of life and sometimes the stories and forgotten about the magic? Who has believed that they need to work hard or feel that they can handle anything to be deserving of the things that really matter? Who has fear bobbing in and out? Who knows that they are on the precipice of another giant evolution, even if they don't know what that looks like? Who else knows their capacity to love is enormous and seek to make that available with a sense of breadth they've not yet experienced? This is where the magic lies, with those who are ready to take the leap and remember the magic again, with those who are ready to make this their most significant life-changing year once again. And so for the third time, she's being missioned up once again, because she's been shown a dream she never knew she had. An ability and a structure to work with a great volume of people, because she's found the way to do just that. Thank you notes to self. You have loved me greatly. You've brought me to my knees. You've humbled me. You've had me face into myself and do the hard miles when I've needed to. Each time you brought the promise of greater freedom, and you delivered. Each time you grew my capacity to love because you trusted in my ability to see. So much pretending, so much doing, all for something. So that is the value of writing notes to self. Now we can do that solitary, and that is valuable in itself. And then there is something in being witnessed. On my group call with my coach on Thursdays at 1 o'clock, almost every week I share a note to self that I feel, to speak out, to hear its resonance, to hear its impact, and to receive feedback around the things that I can't see for myself. This is what this year-long program is in service to. The diligence and the devotion and the commitment to a practice of presence, to a practice of intuition, to a practice of knowing, to a practice of authenticity, to a practice of the unfolding and the unveiling, all in service to being missioned up, all in service to a deeper connection to a renewed meaning and purpose to your life, all because your capacity to love will grow through this year, all in service to the themes of accomplishment, to remembering the magic, and to taking the leaps, all in service to the next year being your best year yet. We start on the 1st of November this year. For those who are ready to commit now, we'll actually start now. I'll warm you up. We'll start the true teachings on the 1st of November. But for those who are ready to commit now, I'll warm you up. The process will begin now. Go to the show notes. Take advantage of the pre-sale fee of $5,500 paid up front. If you can't do that, that's okay. There's a next jump, and that's $7,700. You can start paying that off in monthly installments now. Follow the pull. Take my invitation. Let me walk with you. Let us witness together your best year yet. And if you feel that this program is for people in your life, you'd love to share this experience with them, I would be so incredibly grateful to you to share this episode, to share the landing page, and let's have the most delicious time together. If you don't feel that group is for you, and you know that one-on-one is more your preference and more your need, I understand that. There are times when that is what is required, and there are times when group work is perfect. So if one-on-one is what you need, well, you know what to do. Thank you. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you'll be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.